Welcome to People Doing Good for Others. Welcome to People Doing Good for Others, where we celebrate, highlight, and hold in the light and honor those who truly make significant differences in our communities. I want to thank Wilkes Communications, RiverStreet Productions, and WIFM for this opportunity. Again, I'm Gary York, and I'm thank you for being here. My featured guest today is Dr. Jeff Cox. He's the president of our outstanding Wilkes Community College, having completed his 5th year. We're going to talk about strategic plans. We're going to talk about career coaching, advising, bringing students to their optimum performance level. I see him on campus a lot, and he's totally involved in this community and the outstanding Wilkes Community College. So good morning to you, my friend.
Good morning, Gary.
Dr. Jeff Cox, and we were here about, I guess, 3.5 years ago, and I thought it'd be a good time for us to catch up and just tell us about the wonderful outreach of your outstanding community college, and just tell us a little bit about how these 5 years, if you will, just go from there.
Great, Gary. Well, I appreciate being here, and I appreciate the work you do to highlight a lot of folks doing good work in our community.
Thank you.
Thank you for that. But yeah, it's we were talking. It's hard to believe it's been 5 years, but the time flies when you're having fun and engaged in meaningful work, I think. So I've really enjoyed these 5 years at the college. We've been very busy. But over the last couple of years in particular, we've been hard at work on developing a new strategic plan for the college that I'm really excited about. And the essence of that plan, Gary, has just been to sharpen our focus on what's the college's role in helping the citizens in Wilkes, Ashe, and Allegheny counties with their economic mobility. And really what I mean by that is the statistics tell us that if you're born poor in rural America, particularly in the southwestern part of our country, and even maybe more acutely here in our region, if you're born poor, you've got a two out of three chance of staying poor. And so I think the people who work at the college, when we were confronted with that information, we talked with the faculty and staff about that. We just thought that's not acceptable. We've got to step in and play a role in helping people who live in our region, who want to have a better life, who want to earn a living wage, who want to earn a family sustaining wage. We need to be able to help them get the talents and the credentials they need to go out into the world and compete in this new labor market.
Wow.
So
So how do you start, say it's a couple years ago, and that realization was communicated, and then what did we do?
So we really rolled up our sleeves and embarked on this really significant strategic plan that it took us really a year and a half or so to develop, but we did a lot of outreach in the community. We involved over 200 different stakeholders in the community, business owners, our school system partners, all kinds of local government officials, just a broad swath of the people we thought needed to be involved in helping us to kind of redefine our mission and figure out what was our role in helping people here in our region to a better tomorrow.
How many did you say, 200?
Over 200 different individuals, yeah, through a lot of several different meetings and focus groups, and it got a lot of outreach. Of course, a lot of our faculty and staff and administrative team and our deans and division leads and so forth, a lot of those folks. But Gary, one of the early things we uncovered was at our college, which actually is above average on the national level and even at the state level, What we uncovered, though, was the data is clear that those students who were coming to us as first-time, full-time students with the intention to complete a 2-year degree, only about 25% of them were actually completing that 2-year degree within the 3 years of beginning to attend. So if you think about a lot of the community college students and the demographics and the challenges that some of our students have, a lot of them are coming part-time and they're working part-time jobs. A lot of them have families that they're already trying to support. A lot of the students didn't know what they wanted to do, so they knew they needed to do something, but they just come over to the college and just start taking classes without really having a great plan. So again, that's an area that really helped bring our faculty and staff together. We did a little exercise where we had everybody in the room stand up, and then one group at a time, we had folks to sit down, and we were left with only 25% of the faculty and staff, about 300 or so employees in the room, and we were left with just that 25% left standing. And I talked to them about that and said, look around the room. We represent our students. This is how many we're getting out within 3 years. And you could have heard a pin drop in the room, and the faculty and staff really in that moment said, this is not acceptable, so what do we need to do differently? How can we help more students get across the finish line? And that really became the true beginning of
that moment.
That moment, when I look back on it, was kind of the moment that helped us really get everybody on board. Because every person in the room looking at that, nobody could be satisfied with that number. It's above the national average, and there's a lot of reasons for it.
So only 25% are fulfilling that goal in 3 years.
Right, which is 150% of the time that's allocated to finish the 2-year degree. That's the way they calculate, is how many actually do it within 3 years. So yeah, so when we looked at that, we said, this is not okay. So what strategies can we put in place? What things can we do differently to better support our students so that we've got a lot higher percentage than 25 reaching that goal? So some of that we're going to talk a little bit about today, I hope.
Okay. Dr. Cox, go back to growing up, a little bit of your journey in public education as being a core person about being a great teacher in the classroom and things of that, just a little bit, if you will.
So I was born and raised up in Allegheny County, here just next door, Gary, and went to Appalachian when I graduated high school, and I was one of those kids who didn't know what I wanted to do, but I contemplated law school for a little while, but I decided ultimately I was going to pursue a degree in education. And I went down that path and taught for a little while in Greensboro the first year at a pretty tough inner city school in Greensboro. I had an opportunity to come back home to Allegheny after that first year, and so I went back to Allegheny High School where I'd been a student and taught there for the next 4 or 5 years. During that time, got my master's degree from Appalachian also. So then my wife and I had met during those years, and she was finishing her nursing degree as I was finishing my master's degree. We moved to Union County, the first place we could both get jobs. Me as an assistant principal and her as a nurse in the local hospital down there. I thought I was finished with school. I was not going to pursue any higher degree. I was frankly surprised I'd gotten a master's degree. That wasn't really part of my plan ever. But I had a principal that I had gone to work with as an assistant principal who was just finishing her doctorate at UNC Charlotte. And she told me, she said, look, you're young, you don't have any kids yet. She said, you're not going to want to be a school principal for the next 25 years. She said, you need to get in this doctoral program and you may want to be a superintendent one day.
That was the first time you'd thought about that?
First time I thought about it. In fact, I had thought about it and ruled it out. Said I'm finished with school. But she persisted, and the next thing I know, within a month, I'm enrolled at UNC Charlotte in their doctoral program. And of course, it took me 3 years to go through that program, but it's been obviously it's been well worth it for me. But she was right, but you look back in your life and think, who are these people who gave you a little nudge when you needed it maybe, and made a big impact.
Wow.
And,
as a role model that just played a key role in
Yeah.
your career.
really was.
Yeah.
So finished that. That led to me getting into a principal position pretty quickly after 2 years as an assistant principal. The superintendent called, said, we want you to come down and take over the principal job at this year-round elementary school. So I made that transition, was there for about 3 years in that role, really enjoyed that time as an elementary school principal. But then we had an opportunity to move down to Lee County when an assistant superintendent for curriculum and instruction job came open, and I got that job, and we moved our family down to Sanford, just that down south west of Raleigh. And we were there for about 2 years, just a little over 2 years, 2.5 years, and I got a call that the superintendent up in Allegheny County, where I had grown up, was retiring, and someone suggested maybe I might be interested in coming back home. So that's what we did, and moved back to Allegheny, and that's where we were for the last 9 years before this terrific opportunity came up. Right. to
You
lead.
work closely with the Board of Trustees.
Yes.
Just a little overview of how often y'all meet, and just a little bit about the board.
Well, we've got a terrific Board of Trustees, of course. You know most of them, if not all of them, but they're represented really from 12 of the trustees are from Wilkes County, 4 appointed by the governor, 4 by the county commissioners, and 4 by the local school board.
Okay.
And then in Allegheny and Ash, we have 2 trustees from each of those counties. Okay. Who also serve on our board, who are appointed by the county commissioner boards up in those respective counties. So a total of 16 voting members, plus 1 for our SGA president.
Yes.
He or she is also an ex officio member of our board of trustees. Historically we've met quarterly, but there was some new legislation passed last year that the legislature wanted boards to meet at least 6 times a year. So we are doing that. We have our regular quarterly meetings. And then we've added on a couple of additional meetings to help meet that requirement. But it's a terrific board we have with leaders with various kinds of life experience that really help inform what we do at the college.
So the vision of the college is you and this group.
Sure, it is.
Yeah.
I mean, the trustees really have 2 primary roles and responsibilities. One is hiring the president. I mean, that's
Yep.
one of their biggest roles that they do is go out and find the right candidate to lead the institution. But then they also have oversight over just governance in terms of policy, and set the policies that the administrative team
Yes.
and I follow to lead the college. And ultimately oversight of the budget. So we do the day-to-day operational things, but we bring the budget overall to the board for their approval and oversight.
A word that we use here a lot is the culture of the college, the heart and soul of it. How does it embrace people? And I happened to be there last week and was having a little trouble finding my way. And I ran into an Elledge in your bookstore. Yeah. And I really asked her to point me in the right direction. She said, follow me.
Right.
And she led me to Ms. Macemore's office.
Right.
And that's just been so much of me since that happened. And I just wanted to congratulate that's the culture. Right. She could have pointed and walked on, but she led me. Right. So
we actually had something along those lines, Gary. We did something new this year that gets at what you're talking about. Kim Fall, one of our vice presidents over the college, had this idea that on the first day for students, we would get about a dozen of our leadership team, and we would stand out in front of the different buildings with signs that said, "How can I help you?"
Did you really?
We really did. So I did, and about a dozen or so others did. So when students were coming through, they may know which building to go into, but they don't know how the numbering works for classrooms. So we stood out there and just helped students as they came in, and it was I think that was symbolic of that kind of attitude we're trying to convey, that the college is a warm and welcoming place for students. A team, yeah. We're here to support folks in this community.
Wow.
Yeah.
Dr. Jeff Cox, president of Wilkes Community College. Let's talk about coaching. Career coaching is a vital part of this strategic plan.
Well, it is, Gary. So when we looked at this number that we were trying to impact and thought, how can we do a better job of helping students who want to come to college, who want to get a degree? How can we really help them along their path? So two really big strategic initiatives that we've undertaken are developing the career coaching program. We were fortunate in that we've had some terrific philanthropic support from people in our community who I can't say enough good about, but Robert L. Strickland and Betty Strickland, the former Lowe's family here in our community, who actually don't live here anymore, but they still got this tie back to Wilkes County. They heard about our plan and what we were trying to do, and they particularly like this idea about career coaches. So what we do is we hire college employees we've hired who are stationed out in each of the high schools in our service area. So one in Ash, one in Allegheny, and 4 out in the traditional high schools in Wilkes County. So these are college employees, but they work alongside those high school school counselors and the school administrators in those high schools to help students explore what are their interests and what are the careers, and particularly in our area where they might have an opportunity to get out and earn a living wage. And then what are the educational pathways to get there? So we've got a lot of feedback from our employers as we're doing our strategic plan that they've got some, in many cases, we've got good jobs in our community that are well paying, but they can't find the talent that they need to fill those empty positions. On the other hand, we had high school students who we know, want to get out of poverty, they want to live a better life, and they're willing to do the work, but they don't know how to get there. They don't know what those jobs are. And our school counselors are so busy with all their duties and responsibilities, they just didn't have time to get into the career exploration as much as we felt like maybe they needed to. So we set out to put this in our strategic plan and said we want to put a career coach in every high school. Well, the state provided enough funding to do 2 of those coaches. We had to come up with matching funds for 2 more. When we proposed this to the Stricklands, just to fund 2 and us fund 2, and those 4 would split among the 6 high schools, you know what the Strickland family said? We support your idea, but we don't like the idea of those coaches having to be divided in the high schools. We think you need 6 coaches, and we're going to fund the other 2.
They really?
They really did. They really did. So they gave us the matching funds for the 2 coaches that we had to have, and then they funded fully the other 2. So we've got a plan now for the next 4 years to have funding in place for these career coaches.
It's amazing that I found to find people who are capable of giving and the willing, and they didn't want to stop just so. They want, let's go to the top.
Let's go to the top. Yeah. Well, they cared deeply about this community, and apparently Bob Strickland really cared about education and wanted people to have that career advice and to know, what the opportunities were. So we put that program in place, and that's working great.
All right, Dr. Cox, tell us again, if you will. I want you to really get into this, the difference in the college coach and advising. Let's go through that one more time.
Sure, Gary. Well, so our career coaches that we've hired and placed out in the high schools help students with that transition to learn about their career opportunities and the educational pathway to come to college. But the second strategy that we have implemented deals with our advising program on campus. So for students, once they get to us, we realize we've got to do a lot more what we call intrusive advising, really getting in their business and keeping up with students and making sure they're staying on track, that they picked a pathway and that they're staying on that pathway from the time they get on campus until hopefully they graduate in 2 or 3 years later. So again, we had the good fortune to have some other partners here in the community. The Petro Kulinik family, of course, had this beautiful home here in Beacon Ridge, and after Mr. Kulinik passed, Brenda and Janice, his 2 daughters, were trying to decide what they could do with that home that would be the most impactful in the community. And so we started talking to them some about what our plans were and how we were trying to impact this social mobility, economic mobility here in Wilkes County. And thought one really important way we could do that was through an enhanced advising program at the college to really help every student who comes in, to give them the support.
Is assigned an advisor? Is that?
Yes, so from the time they come on campus, they go into what we call an ACA class. It's basically an academic success class, how to be a good student, how to succeed in college. So the students who take that class, their instructor in that class, we've made those positions half-time instructor and half-time advisor. So those students meet and get to know their advisor from the very inception when they take that ACA class, and then that instructor / advisor is going to be with that group of students all the way through until they leave Wilkes Community College. Wow. And we'll add on to that some faculty mentors. So as students make their way through and say I'm going to take automotive, then I'm going to get linked up with an automotive instructor who's got contacts out in the world of work in the different car dealerships and so forth. So that faculty mentor kind of comes on and layers on top of the support that the academic advisor is given, but they help the student get out and make those connections in the world of work that are also critical, and that frankly the advisors can't know every contact in every different field. So the faculty members still play a critical role in serving as mentors for our students and helping them make those connections for apprenticeships and different job-based, work-based learning opportunities, and ultimately, hopefully, career options when they get out. But the enhancement that we've been able to have with the Kulinik family providing these funds, that's what's allowed us to hire these additional advisor positions and kind of reframe our model on how we're doing advising. So the Petro Kulinik advising program is just launched this year, and we're getting great feedback already from our students about that. So we're really excited.
I was with a youngster here who's came out of this high school system to UNCG and now back here, and he was commenting that maybe he would have gone the early college route.
Right.
And that's had to have a tremendous impact in your strategic plan. Will you share that with us?
Oh, definitely. So we've had an early college high school that's located on our campus. A lot of people in the community still aren't aware of it, but it's a full-fledged high school. Students come as freshmen, and they're there on our campus up in Randolph Hall from the time they're freshmen until they graduate in either 4 or 5 years. But the early college model allows us to blend their high school education with their college education. So you can finish your 4-year high school degree and also get a 2-year associate degree from Wilkes Community College, and then take that and transfer on to a university. And you can do that virtually for free. And so we've got just short of 300 students on campus at any given time.
300?
Yes, just a little short of 300 who were enrolled in that Wilkes Early College High School. And this year we've opened up the Ash Early College High School, and we've got that program up and running. And so providing that opportunity for students up in Ashe County as well. So I was just meeting with some of their students yesterday. This year's, actually opened it last year, it's this year's freshman class I was meeting with yesterday, and those students are just excited and eager to be in that program.
Well,
It's a great opportunity for the students, but also for parents. I mean, it's going to save them a small fortune, essentially two years that they won't have to pay for.
that's what
at the
this
university.
youngster here was saying about his debt, that he wouldn't have it had he chosen.
Yes.
And so,
And the focus for that program, Gary, is 80+% of the students who are in that program are first generation college students. So it's kids whose parents didn't go to college and who may or may not have even been thinking about college as a realistic option. But with this program, it absolutely helps them see how realistic an option it really is. So they're academically prepared, they're smart kids, but that maybe just didn't think necessarily about college.
yep.
So now they are.
Dr. Cox, let's talk about how the business community can step up and be more of a player, if you will, in the success of your strategic plan.
Right. Well, one of the keys that we've been working on are work-based learning opportunities. We want to provide the education for students, but they need to get out in the workplace and really see how what they're learning in the classroom fits in the world of work. So we've had several companies that have been good partners with us in taking on apprentices. A couple in particular come to mind here at Wilkes Communication. They've been great partners in helping students get apprenticeships over here. And Gary Damer over at Infusion Points, they do internet security. They've been great partners, taking on several apprentices. And some of them have now translated into full-time jobs as the students have left and have gone to work for these places. So we need more of those. We need more companies willing to work with us directly on apprenticeship programs. But the other thing, Gary, that we have to figure out, how can the college work with the local business and industry to do this? But we have a bit of a wage problem here in our county. I look at my own kids. I've got 3 teenage boys, and I want all of them I'd love for all of them to stay here in Wilkes County when they graduate from high school and from college. But I also want them to be financially independent and to be able to earn a decent living and support their families. So we're looking for opportunities to work with businesses and industries who are interested in being able to provide a family sustaining wage for their employees. We feel like we can add a real value proposition to that, to say, let us take what might be an entry-level employee and give them some additional skills that's going to make them more valuable to your company, so you'll want to pay them a little bit more where they can actually afford to live here and meet your workforce needs, fill those vacant positions you have, but also earn a living wage. So, it's not enough. It doesn't serve our community well if the only people who are staying here in Wilkes County are the ones who don't go to college and just go in the very lowest level of employment here to meet those basic level positions. We really need to be able to retain and keep some of our students who are now going off to universities and then going elsewhere to find higher paying jobs. So any ideas that businesses have about pathways that we can work with them on to develop from an entry-level position up to a family-sustaining wage kind of position, we're looking for those opportunities for businesses who are willing to sit down with us and figure out, what does that look like at our company? How can we work with the college and develop a skill set that would be worth paying living wages to our employees to have?
We're almost to the end, and we want to thank Wilkes Communications and RiverStreet for this opportunity. And your intensity and your encouragement and your hope and vision just really overwhelm me. I'm just so grateful that you've been here. How about just talk about coming here and these 5 years and how you've embraced the community and the essence of it,
right?
And I'm sure it's rewarded you. So just talk about
Sure.
the partnership of of you coming and being a part of all these great things you guys are doing, and women that are stepping up. And Ms. Macemore was here earlier, and oh wow, you know, I'm just so impressed with people that you have around you.
Right. Well, it is. It's definitely a team effort, and the faculty and staff here at Wilkes Community College are just, I put them up against anybody, anywhere. They care deeply about our students, and the community itself is very supportive of the college. We just want to be able to figure out how can we pay that back. And part of me wanting to take this role, Gary, and coming down here to serve as president of the college, growing up in this region, you know, I was a kid when times were better and the economy was good, and we had a lot more manufacturing jobs and people earning those family-sustaining wages. And I guess coming here, I thought and still think that the college is the key player in helping bring back the economic vitality of the community. So I'm honored and humbled to be in a position to be able to help with that in some way. And for me, that's what it's all about, is just how can we help more people out there in the community find that pathway to greater economic mobility and jobs that will provide them a family-sustaining wage.
And I'm grateful for that moment when you and your team attacked the fact that people are staying stuck in yesterday, and we don't have to be that way. We can make it better.
Well, absolutely we can, and we will.
And we will.
And we are.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Dr. Jeff Cox, president of Wilkes Community College, completed his 5th year. A person of tremendous vision and caring and giving and sharing and making a difference in our communities. And he found an opportunity and he seized it. And with his team, we're going to do great things. We're doing great things, and we're going to be even better than we have been. Thank you very much, and see you next time.